A short introduction in 3 lines. I am Nitin Joshi. I am a freelance live sound engineer. I ride my Triumph Bonneville, and I'm a hobby photographer also. Sound was never part of the story. It came quite late in my life. It was always about music. Even today, it's about music. When I was very young, I was introduced to a lot of music because my father and mother loved classical music. I was taken to a lot of classical concerts, whether I wanted it or not. Subconsciously, all that went in. My father, uh, in the morning, used to start the radio at 6:30, whatever the Archana was the devotional program, and then it is to be shut at 11:30 with Bela Ke Phool. So I have heard all kinds of music. And then later on, I continued that radio hobby, and I used to tune to Radio Sri Lanka, Radio Australia, to listen to Western because I never had cassette quite late in my life. So radio was the only source. So that's where I started listening to music, and music was part and parcel of my childhood completely.
So I'm just sort of jumping time frames and everything. I guess you're the first person in the series with whom I'm speaking to, where cassettes were also not really easily accessible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Radio was the only source, I mean, at that time for me.
and when you're listening to radio, like you have to listen to what they're playing. You don't really have a choice.
Yes.
Do you think that sort of helped you shape your likings because you had to hear everything?
Yeah.
And
It basically, I was not focused on one genre. I was exposed to different genres, but I had made a timetable. I was in hostel, and radio was the only source of music. So I had made a timetable of what time Radio Australia plays a particular 5 to 5:30. Then Sri Lanka plays at this time. BBC plays Western music at popular music was played at those times. So I used to listen to all that. So that has exposed me to different kinds of music. Cassette came quite late in my life, and then I had to borrow because I didn't have a collection. One of my father's friend gave a cassette, Billy Joel's Glass Houses. That was my first cassette. Then slowly I started, asking friends for cassettes and started listening to music. I'll remember one, like whenever I used to go for exams, I was doing my BSc in microbiology, and morning before going to the paper, I used to tune in. That was the year 1983 when Michael Jackson got 9 Grammys for Thriller album.
And the winner is Michael Jackson.
And whenever those songs were played, Beat It was played, my paper acha jata tha. It was that kind.
so, and Dada, since you said you were also, like learning tabla. So, was there a phase where you were performing on
I
stage?
did a little bit. I did perform, and I was part of competitions. I won a few competitions with doing solo, but that was till 9th, 10th. And then I was introduced in college to Western music.
Okay.
So then I wanted to learn guitar. And my fight with my mother was always she wanted me to learn sitar. I said, I want to learn guitar. So for 3, 4 years, nothing happened. When I was doing my MSc microbiology, I could finally, get to go to a guitar teacher in Nagpur, uh, Pradeep Panch. So that's where I started learning it. But that's the story. I never got into scales and stuff. The reason being, first 7 days, I'm sitting there doing scales, and he used to sit outside, and mine was the last class of the day. So he used to sit and play Beatles songs. I love Beatles. I knew songs by heart. So I used to sit and sing with him. अरे तू गाना गाता है, तेरे को मैं chord सिखाता हूँ. So he started teaching me chords. So first 6 months I learned basic shapes of all chords, bought an Archie's book and formed my first band.
So, you're the second person who's speaking about this Archie's book.
Yeah.
The other person was Sarthak, who's a very well-known RJ, and
Okay.
in my opinion, an encyclopedia on music. How was that time? Like, would you wait for the book to come out?
No, I actually had one big, and I was at that time I was listening to Beatles, I was listening to ABBA, I was listening to Boney. So those all songs were covered. Some country songs like Kenny Rogers also I was listening to. So it had all that which was needed. My first band, meaning we in Nagpur there was no scene. Western music scene was only 31st ka show, but the Christmas ka show. That's all there was to it. Or maybe few college shows kahin idhar udhar ho gaya tha.
Acha.
So we used to do covers, but these were the all melodious songs picked up, and I didn't know anything called harmony. We used to sing in unison. actually. There was no bass guitar. The lead guitar used to play bass, prominent bass notes in the song which were heard on our small tape recorders were played on the lead guitar.
So, were there like a proper band for whatever little time?
Yeah, we had a proper band. Then actually, see, the rock music came into my life quite late again. When I was after doing my MSc, when I was working as a microbiologist and working for Cadell Hospital Products as selling diagnostic kits. That is the time I met few friends from Bombay. I mean, I made friends with them. They were all musicians. They introduced me to all this rock music, and that is where I was introduced to independence rock. And it is like so nostalgic. I mean, that was my exposure to live music. I have seen Agnee play the Pentagram doing a Queen's medley. You know, the Brahma was there. I mean, all and Induscreed, of course, not Induscreed. It was a rock machine that
Rock
time.
machine.
And that is the time I saw Roger Drego actually sitting and handling the sound. And that's the first introduction to big sound, arena, people, standing and watching the concert. So that actually started my interest in sound.
So, Dada, any of the members from that band when you were playing who ended up doing music, or did it just fizzle out?
Titu, you know Titu, he's playing with KK for all his years, and then he's playing with everybody in the industry now. His brother was studying in Nagpur, and he also came to do his 12th at Nagpur. And we formed a band, and we were rehearsing. At that time, then rock was coming in, so we were doing GNR covers, Deep Purple, and all those popular number covers we were doing. I was playing bass at that time. I was not singing. There was a friend called Pawan who used to sing. So that time, the drummer came with his kit and never turned up for the rehearsals. And T2 was one guy who used to air drum at that time. He had never played drums. He used to air drum constantly all around our practices. And because this drummer was right, we said, T2, baith ja. And that's where his drumming journey started. And then he moved to Bombay. Then he is the guy, I mean, because of that friend circle, I got to know about the independence rock.
Okay. So let's speak about Independence Rock. I think they're celebrating the 35th anniversary this year.
Yeah.
How was that back then?
It was Rangbhavan. Rangbhavan was an amazing venue, amazing place. And I used to travel by train. So when they reintroduced Independence Rock, just for that nostalgia, I from Pune with my wife and my daughter, I took a train, went there and was there for 2 days just watching bands play. It was fantastic. I mean, then I saw another band, really international band I saw was Brian Adams playing at Brahma Stadium.
Okay.
So that was again, I saw Brian Adams as few dots. The band was seen as dots because I was far away, sitting in the stadium. But that introduction to huge, big sound. So these were the few things which really got me into the scene.
So, and when did you switch from microbiology to doing this like professionally?
Microbiology, because when I was working with Vocard, we were rehearsing for a concert, and I had some tip with my boss. I told him, I took him in confidence, saying that I am rehearsing, so there's a possibility that this month's sale might be little less, just adjust kar lena, why? But I came to know that he told the upper bosses about this and all that. So I got really angry. In that moment, I went to his house and kept my bag. I said, I don't want to do this. And I had no plans. There was no next. What to do? Then I was sitting with a friend and he suggested me कि cassettes यहाँ मिलते नहीं है नागपुर में, and there are a lot of engineering students who are coming from outside, so they would love to have something like this. So I opened a store called Music Channel, and I was selling cassettes. But I used to go to Bombay, go to this MIL and HMV and get the old meaning Uriah Heep, जो किसी को किसी ने सुना ही नहीं है, इस टाइप के एल्बम सब लेके आता था. And I used to sell again, because I was focused on doing this as a passion, more into music. I was not selling Bollywood. So commercially, it was not a success. But I was hell-bent on doing I was selling classical music and rock, pop. That's all I was selling in that store. It was not a front end. It was on a first floor. But people used to search and come. And used to sit. Another policy I had was I used to open and play the music to them. Because at that time, I mean, there was no exposure for
Yeah.
people. So I used to expose people to newer stuff. And I could do it only by opening the seal of the tape, which normally at that point, no cassette store would let them do.
Yeah.
So that was the thing which I started there. Then the era of TDK and Sony tapes and people coming in, I am doing that, sitting there. And now I know that was wrong, which I was doing. But that was the thing I was doing. So because of that, I used to get a lot of billboard cassettes from Bombay. One of my friend Mohan used to get it for me. So I had latest stuff which was happening in the world and on the chrome tapes. So that got me into starting working as a DJ with cassettes. Again, Nagpur is a very small place and very less parties kind of happens. So whatever happens is good. So I used to do it from cassettes. So that's then 4 years down the line, studio things started coming because I in my store, I had a band. I was playing guitar also that time with a Marathi group. So I recorded. I got them in my store. After it was shut, gathered mic, hired mics, and recorded their stuff. And so slowly that interest started coming. But at that time, I had nobody I knew in this industry. So I went to Bombay, and that time digital technology was just coming in. So I searched. Finally, I got Pro Tools का कुछ एक magazine में मेरे को मिला. So I went to them. It took me an year and a half to convince my bank to give me loan because there was no background also.
Yeah.
And I was planning to set it up in Nagpur. So सब तो बोल रहे थे पगला है. Anyway, so I finally, me and my partner Anand, हमने दोनों ने अपना अपना घर गिरवी रखे, took the loan, got Pro Tools, and I'm not joking, and that's the first time I was using a computer. And mouse मेरे हाथ में पहले आया with Mac straight. It was Power Mac 817100, 80 megahertz machine. And मेरे को mouse नहीं जम रहा है. यानी कहाँ किधर घूम रहा था. I didn't have any control over it. So I played puzzle for a day on that to get used to it. And then the Pro Tools manual came. Then that's where my education started. That time internet was not there. I used to pay 500 rupees for 5 hours. With the speed was so slow, तो 2-3 पेज पढ़ने मिल गए बहुत हो गया. That kind. So that's how I learned. Everything I learned by making mistakes. Like I will tell you the first incidents in my studio. There was Qawwali being recorded.
Okay.
So there were some 8-10 musicians who came. I mic'd them and I started the recording. I had a 1 GB SCSI hard drive which had costed me 20,000 that time. And I started the recording. It went on for 15-20 minutes. So I don't know, I don't even remember the number of tracks. I could record 16 on the Pro Tools and 8 on ADAT. So 16 के अंदर था तो मैं, I was doing on Pro Tools. And suddenly it stopped. Disk full. First day of my recording. I said, ये क्या हुआ? So then I realized, then I read about it, 5 MB per minute per track लगता है. मेरे पास 1 GB है, खटास. Then I had to tell them to go for break. I had to format my ADAT. It has a 40-minute real-time format.
Yeah.
SVHS tape. And then I transferred this on that and then started the next recording. So then I used to combine 8 on this and
Okay.
so all that. It's like by making mistakes and I have learned everything like that. I didn't know what a compressor was. So manual में पढ़ो ये सब parameters से कुछ भी हिला के देखो कुछ हो रहा है क्या फर्क. That's how I learned. So everything. At that time there was no institutes also. There was one institute, FTI, but I was already married. And there was no time to go to an FTI and learn for 5 years. So no way. So I had to learn it's a hard way. And then I used to go to Bombay to get work.
Okay.
So my partner was a composer arranger, Anand. And we used to produce something, sit together and produce something and go and meet all these companies and get work, produce it there, go back, play to them. So I have traveled so much in a train with reservation, without reservation, that after a point, I have not sat in a train. I had had enough of that.
So before we move ahead, what I find very interesting is you had started your own studio setup and you're talking about times when there was no internet, nothing like that. How did you procure your equipment and what sort of equipment were you working with?
That I luckily met when we were even about to set up, we were started doing some jingle work and a little bit of, So one client came to us with a particular jingle. So we had one contact in Bombay. We called him, he hired a studio for us. And I walk into that studio. That's where I meet Pramod Chandorkar. He is a sound engineer who had moved from Pune to Bombay. He was working in Radio 1. And over cigarette, we started chatting and we became friends. Then I told him, this is what I want to do. Can you help me? I don't know anything about it, but I want to do it. So he is the one who really helped me to find stuff, to procure stuff. He came all the way to Nagpur to set my studio. I didn't know any किधर से किधर जाने वाला है केबल्स, वो कुछ नहीं पता था मेरे को, बट करना है, ये सीखना है और करना है, दैट वाज द थिंग. So he really helped me into getting the equipment, stuff like mixer, mics, what to buy with my limited budget.
Yeah.
So
So, and when did you make the shift from studio to live?
from Nagpur, I was there for 6 years. Then I moved to Pune because Pramod had a place at his house and he had moved to Bombay, but he wanted to set up something in Pune. So that's where he approached me and I said, I can do the running. I mean, I would run the studio. I would love to be part of that. In 2007, Agnee walked in. Again, there's a story with Agnee. Agnee's first, I mean, Coco's first gig as guitarist was at Nagpur. I didn't know about it, and I was there standing in front. And because of Titu knew them, we got to meet them beforehand. We met Jaggi, Koco, and Bharat, and we became friends with them. And then I moved to Pune, and then I used to meet Coco often. And then he was forming AG and WE, which be folk rock band. And that is the time he approached me saying, Nitin, I want to record an album. So I said, wow, why not? So let's start. So the first day they recorded a demo. Then we completed the album. It was mixed and released. And that is the first time somebody asked me, could you travel with us as a live sound engineer?
Oh, nice.
So that's where my live journey. I used to do live gigs for vendors in Pune, but that was like one-off things. Like
Yeah.
whenever I had time, that was not a thing. So that's the time I started traveling as a live sound engineer. Again, the first gig I did as Agnee sound engineer, I didn't touch the fader. I didn't get to touch the fader because I went to Bombay and there was one big massive mixer there, which I had never seen in my life. I had always worked on smaller analog mixers. So that was one big digital mixer that was in front of me. And I
And if
asked,
you could recollect, what year was this?
this would be 2007.
Okay, okay.
Till that time, smaller digital had just come in, like LS9 and M7CL were just there. This was like a PM5D, like a big baby. And I was standing there just looking at it. And I asked the guy who was helping with whatever mics and everything, I said, bro, can you tell me where is what and just the basic stuff? Said, no, our boss will come and he'll take it. Our boss will come and he'll take it. I waited, finished the miking and everything. I'm waiting. Duane walks in. Duane works, I mean, you know Duane, right? So Duane walks in and he starts mixing. Oh, straight, tuck, 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 tuck. With that speed, there was no chance of even asking him, bro, where is what? You know, there was no chance. I was standing next to him. And he, like half an hour, he finished the sound check. You with the band? Yeah. Are you going to do the faders? No, I stand and watch you. So the first Agnee's gig as sound engineer, I was standing and watching the gig. And, you know, then the second gig, I went 2 hours before. I sat on the mixer, understood what is where, and then saved and then did the gig.
Awesome.
So that
So-
was the journey.
And what are the other artists or bands that you worked over the years with?
Actually, with Agnee, I met Raghu.
Okay.
That's another one. Suddenly, I met Raghu because they were friends. And in Bangalore, we were doing a gig where Raghu also came and played. And then he was working on his album that time. I got a call from Raghu suddenly, out of blue, saying, Nitin, I need you in Guwahati. Can you fly tomorrow? I said, yeah, I can. So I fly to Guwahati. This is in IIT Guwahati, I think.
Yeah.
So this gig is there, and I meet Vijay Nair for the first time. He was managing Raghu at that time. This is the first Raghu's gig I am going to. So we are having lunch, and he says, "Let's go. The equipment this side, northeast, is not very
Yeah.
good. So let's go and check it out." We went. There was a college competition going on. It was sounding horrid. You know, I mean, horrid is not the way. It was sounding, anything was anywhere. Something like that was happening. So we went. He said, then he got me in, and I saw on stage the gear was good. Like the back line was good. They were good drum kit. Everything was good. In front, they were everything. In the speakers, they were Stranger amps. They were home speakers. They were monitors. They anything and everything was put up. I said, why all this? Said, sir, वो कॉलेज ने बताया 10,000 वाट चाहिए. हमने लगा दिया, हमारे पास जितना था सब स्पीकर लगा दिया, 10,000 वॉट कर दिया है। तो बोला एम्प्स किधर है? वो आओ इधर। ऐसा पर्दा नीचे किया, there were amps lined up with all open wires going from here to there, and there were people sleeping, thake haare. That was a scene. So Vijay tells me, Nitin, if you say the equipment is not right, we'll not do this gig. Also, Vijay, I have not come all the way from Pune not to do a gig. We'll find a way. You'll have to give me time. We'll find a way. I said, okay. तो competition खत्म हो गया. Then I went there. I said, अभी बजाओ. उसने लगाया और सब नहीं, एक एक सुना। आप ये इधर से क्या जा रहा है, लेफ्ट में क्या जा रहा है, सर ये 3 स्पीकर जा रहे हैं, ये क्या जा रहा है, ये स्पीकर जा रहे हैं, ये ग्रुप में ये आउट क्या जा रहा है, ये कहाँ जा रहा है, सब एक एक सुना। आई शट, आई थिंक 60 और 70% ऑफ द स्पीकर्स आई शट। जो बचा था, दे वर ऑल साउंडिंग गुड एंड द ऑडियंस वाजंट दैट मच। ऑडियंस वाज लाइक कॉलेज व्हाटएवर 500-600 लोग ही थे। इट वाज फ्रॉम वन डिपार्टमेंट का कुछ था, समथिंग लाइक दैट, आई डोंट रिमेंबर एग्जैक्टली, बट नॉट टू मेनी पीपल वर देयर। So I said, why you need all that? So let's reduce all that. And then I did the gig, and that was a fantastic gig that happened. Then I started traveling with Rahul also. So that, and then Vijay Nair also we met, and then NH7 happened. So Vijay, when NH7 he was planning to do, he called me. It was first was in Pune. So then I was involved with NH7 for almost 10 years. And earlier, there were no bands, never used to travel with, indie bands, never used to travel with sound engineer. Very few of them. So I used to mix all the bands on my stage, which was the Dior stage, which was my kind of music, you know. So I used to love, you know, that was that 1 year of getting out of the comfort zone, mixing 6 bands, starting from 6 in the morning, finishing sound check by 2, and then from 4 o'clock onwards, doing all these bands and changeovers and all those stuff was like quite, you know, tingling, mind tingling. It used to test you. So I used to do that till a few years, like 2009, I think I did up to there. Oh, sorry, 2010 it started. So 2017, 18, then all the people started, all the bands started with the sound engineers. And then I had no work because I was in charge. I used to go there at 6, leave at 11, mixing maybe one band. So then I stopped doing NS7. But that was a fantastic experience. I got to mix some phenomenal bands, and one of the best sounding band I've done is Bearers. I mean, I was so lucky to, you know, all the new members, mostly new members. There were a couple of old members from Marvel time. So actually for the sound check, all the band came, and I was just putting the gain up. It was sounding good. I was just putting the gain up. You know, I didn't have to do much, but then drummer was sounding kick-ass. I told somebody, what drummer, man? No, he's not the drummer. So what? He's a percussionist. Drummer couldn't make it because he didn't get visa. You know, that kind of musicianship. And bass was just lying there. All throughout, bass was just lying there. Anybody who was free used to come and play bass. And sound check finished. When the gig time came, one old man who couldn't walk without crutches came on stage. I saw him from the side. He was sitting. He walked to the stage. He couldn't walk without crutches. But he came, he picked up the bass. He was standing the whole 1 hour. And the sound changed. You know, that music with the bass is the most important thing. And he was grooving like, I'm just getting goosebumps right now. Just, you know, and everybody, all the musicians were like, who were performing for NSM, they were all standing. And they were looking at me, what did you do? Why did it sound so good? But no, I just put the gates up. It's all coming from the source. It was so good, I can't tell you. Amazing. That was one gig I'll never forget.
You spoke about Agnee, you spoke about Raghu Dikshit. Are there any other artists?
Yeah, then KK, because JD and Lindsay played on Agnee's album when we were recording it. JD was playing with KK. So then I started traveling with KK. I traveled for some time with Sona Mahapatra. In 2010, not 10, around that time, Shubhaji was doing a festival called Baja Gaja.
Yeah.
So that is the time I met her through Tanay. I was introduced to Shubhaji, and then Tanay couldn't make it for the next year's festival. Actually, interesting fact is I went there not as sound engineer in first Baja Gaja. I went there as a photographer. They wanted some candid pictures to be taken. I had a camera. I said, "Tu aja," because we have photographers who are taking pictures, but we want something different. So then I went there as first thing. I was just taking pictures, you know, weird angles and you know all that
Yeah.
fun I was having. And then next year, Tanay couldn't make it, so then I did sound for that. And then just that journey started with Shivaji. And that is, I'm blessed to be traveling with her. And she's one of the most professional, uh, professional artist, most respected and fantastic human being.
Between classical music and the regular rock or contemporary music that you do, which one, and it's honestly a stupid question, but which one is more more interesting for you, and what are the sort of challenges which sort of differentiate the two for you?
Actually, I did not speak about one artist, which is the most challenging one I travel with. I've been traveling with him for the last 10 years, is Shivamani. Just because of the sheer inputs that come to me. There are 40 inputs coming from one man. And you don't know what he's going to play. So initially, first few gigs, I used to mute sections. So he's playing in this part, so I used to miss the rest of the section, and just to avoid feedback and stuff. And one gig he was doing initial days, and he was playing here, and suddenly he put his hand and he played something here. It did not. There was no sound. He suddenly looked at me, said, "Oh, this also can happen." So I had to put everything up. So the challenge is to keep all 40 mics, out of which maybe 10 or 15 are condenser mics, all open all the time without getting a feedback.
Yeah.
That's the biggest challenge. And then moving around with wherever he's playing with those faders, because I have to constantly watch him. Then he wears lapel mics, so suddenly he'll pick something up and start playing. So I have to focus so much on what he's going to do. Then he plays a suitcase and bottle, then and randomly he'll pick it up and start playing. So that's one big challenge I've been doing. The easiest, like I call it meditation, is the classical gig with Shivaji, because she is professional. The musicians are professional. They want to be comfortable on stage, so they are ready to do sound check, which normally classical artists are not very fond of. So they all come for proper sound check. There's a proper sound check that happens, and once the gig starts, I don't have to do anything. I am enjoying the music. I don't have. I mean, maybe harmonium solo, one fader up or down, or a tabla change. Then I might have to change because the sur changes. So madhyam. So that time I have to do little tweaking, but otherwise I'm sitting and enjoying the music. Another band I really love to mix. I've done a lot of gigs with them. Is Prem Joshua and the band.
Yes.
I maybe 2-3 years I traveled with them, but they have some groovy music. So I on the console, when I'm doing some groovy stuff, I cannot sit still and mix. I am dancing. I am moving. So when I'm doing this kind of gig, जो आजू बाजू भाई इधर हो जाए इधर लग जाएगा मैं नाचूंगा इधर. I'll be moving around on the console. So so in Prem Joshua, one of the gigs, it was a private gig in somebody's home.
Okay.
Okay, so this typical uh, high society gig where everybody is busy talking. Okay, and I am standing there. I am enjoying music. They are playing. They are used to people doing that.
Yeah.
I am not bothered about the people. I am enjoying the music on the side. And I end up the gig. Prem tells me, "Bro, I did this whole gig looking at you. Because you were enjoying it so much. I really wanted to play more." So that's what happens. So challenges are different kinds with different bands. But I basically, as I told you earlier, I've listened to different genres. So I am not stuck to only one kind of music.
Yeah.
But somehow I don't like Bollywood.
Okay.
It's from earlier, like 70s, 80s, the jik chita tik dida, all those rhythms and all those melodies and very typical stuff that has been happening. So I've never liked that. I love the stuff before that. Lata ji, Asha ji, I've grown up listening to all that, Kishore da, all that. But the beach mein jo aaya tha na, that was so horrendous. I mean, so I just hate it. Then again, with this like Vishal Shekhar and the indie guys coming into this, started changing the music for better. So then I started listening to, I love Papon. I've traveled with Papon also. So he's another guy who I love to, work with. I love his performance skills and his voice but the problem is I now with age, my patience is going down. So I want a monitor engineer. The bigger setups, I cannot handle both.
Yeah.
Because I came into sound engineering for passion of music, I need to enjoy on the console.
Yeah.
If I am not able to, if constantly from stage people are asking me, ye upar kar, ye niche kar, ye chahiye, wo chahiye, then I can't enjoy. then I can't do justice to the mix for the audience. And that's where, so I told his manager one day, oh, I can't do this. Whenever you have a monitor engineer, I'll love to do this, but now I cannot do both things. Like with Farhan, I'm traveling now.
Yeah.
So there's a monitor engineer. That's the reason I took up that job. And again, it's like a rock band. Like same with KK. KK was playing Bollywood, but performance was like a rock band.
Yeah.
It's a 4-piece, phenomenal, kick-ass rock band. I used to dance like mad on KK. I used to get tired after that, just by, moving around and dancing.
So in fact, my first memory of meeting you was one of Shubhaji's show in Delhi in CP.
Yeah. That was that
Dhamar.
Dhamal. Yes.
Yes. And my favorite picture from that particular thing is when the show had ended and it was like the curtain calls. And Aap or Anish ji, like you both started dancing and I have that picture. So, like because the light wasn't that much, so the picture's a little grainy, but it has so much emotion that it's one of my favorite pictures that I have taken of you. And I know, like when you're talking about dancing behind the console. So before the interview started, you were also speaking about, like how you do sound with Farhan Akhtar and that particular incident where...
Actually, this basically my style. I don't like to use too many compressors. I don't like to use too many plugins. The reason being, I want the dynamics to happen from stage.
Yeah.
I don't want to control them. I don't want people to experience a live gig like a CD. They can, not CD now, streaming. Is the word. So whatever is heard on Spotify and this, if they want to listen to that, they will sit at home and do it. No?
Yeah.
Why they are coming for a live experience when people are playing live? Their live energy has to come in my mix. That's my way of thinking about it. So I don't use too much of compression. I don't use too many plugins at all. I use whatever on board. So the engineers of my generation are, because I'm not, I started with a Power Max 7100 80 megahertz machine. So even if I opened one reverb, my one chip used to go. So I have been saving stuff. I mean, always I have utilized my resources. I always have limited resources. So that thing stays with me. Even if I have everything on board, I am not going to use it unless I need it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, normal sound engineer will start with the EQ. I don't. I listen to the sound first. Do I need the EQ? Then only I'll do.
Yeah.
If dynamically the singer is going, like there's a lot of difference, then I'll put a little tight compression. Otherwise, I will not. I'll keep it open. So that leakages, and people use softer gates to four singers, then it is catching this, it is catching that. It's fine, it's part and parcel. It has to have that. So like I was doing this Bollywood music project and Farhan was playing the Bollywood set. I had just started traveling with Farhan. Before that, I had done Zero Festival, which was a non-Bollywood gig.
Yeah.
So I went there and I did the sound check, and after that they were Bollywood acts. So Bollywood acts have a square above. I see it as a square sound because there's no dynamics. If you take record it and see the waveform, it will not be this. It will be this. It is a straight, tight block, which dynamically is like, it sounds like compressed mastered song, And then my turn came, I started, and suddenly the sound changed. The same system was there, but it started sounding warmer. There was a lot of breathing space. So suddenly after the gig was on, I was doing my normal stuff. I was dancing on the console. Somebody's put up a video also of me dancing on the console and all that. So when I was watching it, and suddenly I started getting messages and calls from other engineers who were the other musicians. Bro, the mix was really good. Bro. What did you do? I didn't do anything. There's a normal, less of everything was what I did. So that is what is happening. I mean, it used to happen in S7 also. I remember one gig, Amit always says that was one of the best Bande Ka mix was NH7 Pune. I was mixing for Indian Ocean. And that gig, the same thing happened. Like all the earlier acts were younger sound engineers with a tight sound, and then Indian Ocean came and it was like open breathing sound. So that people love that. I mean, and it becomes little more important because 5 bands before that have that sound. So the difference is suddenly realized and light by people. A lot of people will come, and another biggest compliment I have got is when I was doing Trilok Gurtu at NCPA. So this is that experimental theatre, which
Yeah.
is like very, very live acoustic, and sitting is like this. Band is down.
Yeah.
I am on the top of it. And there was an Israeli Philharmonic Orchestra playing with it. So it was a tough job. But then I had asked for a monitor engineer, so he was doing it. I was doing outside, and suddenly everything started becoming loud, loud, loud. Uh, then we realized कि थे मैं बोला तू monitor कर ले. I dropped all the faders down, and then I started listening to it acoustically. Till the last of the seat,
Yeah.
what was heard acoustically, I left it. I did not even open the fader. What was not, I started putting in faders, and it sounded really, really good. I enjoyed. The best compliment I got, one lady was going, thank you very much. This is the first time we heard the sound from the stage and not from the speakers.
Yeah.
So that was like
So beautiful.
real acoustic, and the next incident happened very recently. This is about acoustic sounding. My always dream was कि जो rehearsal or green room में, when Shivaji is rehearsing, the tabla, harmonium and Shivaji in the tanpura, the way it sounds, it never can be translated. I have not been able to translate for last 10, 12 years, 13 years I am traveling with her. The moment technology comes, the speakers come, the acoustics of that banquet hall or auditorium comes, something or the other changes. You never get that sound.
Yeah.
I did one gig in Bangalore like last week, and the acoustics of that banquet hall were surprisingly really good. Show started. First time in 30 years of my life, show stopped meaning electricity went away because the generator didn't have enough fuel. खत्म हो गया, डीजल खत्म हो गया. So anyway, Shivaji continued singing. She finished acoustic part, like it was heard acoustically, it was sounding very beautiful, except that level was less. Then finally diesel आ गया, चालू हो गया, तो everybody said नहीं और एक गाना चाहिए. And it sounded exactly the same with higher volume.
Oh wow.
So I said, Shivaji, मैं 10-12 साल से ट्राई कर रहा था, आज मेरे को मिला है.
So Dada, if you could name a few live engineers who either you've worked with or who you looked up to when you had just started, so that the current generation is aware of the legends who paved the way for what the scene and industry is right now.
Everybody knows Shantanu as a studio engineer. He's one of the best, and like Sharaj May, he was there and he's done fantastic job. But I have seen him work in Pune on a Skinny Alley concept, and that place, small place, basic stuff, and the sound he got, and the way he conducted the sound check. And I went in early and I was standing there, and the way that I learned so much from that one incident, the sound that came out of him. So he then got out of the live scene. I hardly saw him after that ever in the live scene. Fali is another guy I've loved. Like recently, this Independence Rock I'm talking about, in the screen set sounded so crisp and so good. I ran to Fali and said, bro, kick ass. I mean, it was so good. But I have seen Fali work on Bollywood stuff, which I don't like the mix, but that rock he mixes is really, really good. Absolutely. Then who else? Jovian Sons. He mixes Kailasa band. Very musical mix. Love his mixes.
And anyone you would like to mention from the current scene, like the younger generation?
Supratik Das is doing quite well. I basically I don't get to listen to other people mixing unless I go to a festival, which is very rare.
Yeah.
So that is where only 1 or 2 times I get to see these things. And normally band lineups are not there. I don't do NS7 now, so less chances of seeing other people work.
So when you're a hardcore biker, that's something that's very evident. Yeah. So is it anyway connected with your music, or is there a favorite song that you listen to while riding?
I mean, I always loved bikes, but I never had time nor money to buy. Harleys have been my dream. When I first test rode the Harley, I never thought of buying it. Anyway, so, but the biking, I shut my studio 2012.
Okay.
Became a full-time live sound engineer. And 2013, first IBW happened, India Bike Week in Goa. And I was doing sound for Pentagram. And it was an early morning, straight airport se sound check, khatam karke. Then I looked around and they were all Harleys everywhere. There were only bikes. There's a bike festival. So that's where I got my first tattoo also there in the festival, because after sound check till gig, I had
Nothing.
no work to do. I was roaming around, I saw guy and I got the tattoo. So that rekindled my again back to I bike. I have to buy a bike. I have to buy a bike. It took me another 2 years to actually. But the thing is, when I was struggling because I changed my profession,
Yeah.
then loans, and then moved to Pune. So I never had time for. I was working 16 to 18 hours a day. I mean, I was working like a mad. So I never had time to anything. I had a bike, chota wala, which studio to ghar, ghar
Yeah.
se studio. That's all. Studio बंद करने के बाद I had time for myself. I called myself time rich. I was working on weekends and at weekday में I was doing nothing. So I used to loiter around इधर उधर काफे कॉफी पी रहे बैठ रहे चाय. तो वो टाइम वो one of my friends took me to Triumph.
Okay.
He's a light engineer, Harsha. We were traveling with Agnee together. He said, "तू bike लेना है ना, तू मेरे साथ चल. I know Triumph. I know you'll like it." So I did not know Triumph name also. I didn't know that this company exists. मैंने biking मेरे को हार्ले एक ही पता था. So I went there. He took the test ride. I'm sitting behind him, and the way the bike moved and silently, I said, "यही चाहिए मेरे को." And next 15 days I had that bike, and I've been riding it for the last 9 years. I've completed 170,000. Music I never heard on the bike.
Okay.
It's because the moment I start listening to music, I get into the intricacies of it. I start listening to the reverb that is done. I start listening to the harmonies and chord progressions and the melody and the word. My focus goes from writing to this.
Yeah.
So almost for all these years, I never. But recently, I had gone to Spiti and I was coming back solo, because on the way back I got a gig.
Yeah.
Which I did at Ludhiana, and I was from Ludhiana. I was riding back solo. So that is the first time I actually heard music, and that I can enjoy it. I was enjoying riding also and biking also. And again, the listening to music is pandemic is what I got back to music. Like earlier in college time, I was listening once. It became a profession. I was exposed to so much of music and loud music. My interest in listening to music had gone.
Yeah.
Pandemic break gave me that, my ears like became fresh. Ab sunte hai. Now I'm back to listening to music.
Nice.
I was really not listening to music other than what I was mixing.
So, like back when I used to ride on the highway from Gurgaon to Delhi. So my favorite song back then for riding was Born to Be Wild.
Okay.
And, like for a good week and a half, iPods had just come. So access of listening to music while riding had just happened. So I put the volume full and ride. After a week, there was a car which sort of stopped me, pulled over. Like, you sing really well. And like I'm wondering what does he mean. So he told me it so happened that our time of going in the morning was the same. And I would put Born to Be Wild on loop and like literally sing it out. So he had been noticing it for a week. So he stopped and so that's my riding song. So even when you're not riding, or when you think biking, is there a particular band?
No, there's no particular song or band. I recently I started listening to Avial a lot.
Okay.
And the current band which I love is Thaikudam Bridge.
Okay.
That's one of the best bands. And I know the engineers. I really love their work. I love the band musically also. And I love the mixes. There's one of the best live performing, even Independence Rock. That was another super performance. First day was Thaikudam Bridge, second day was Industry. So these two are constantly on.
Okay.
And now this, what's her name? I forget. I'll come back to that.
Sure.
But this is softer stuff. But otherwise, when I want that, the Avial, that album, crazy. They have not done anything after that. I don't know why. Whatever I seen them perform after the singer left. What's his name? I don't remember. But really fantastic band at that time. And while we're talking about it, I remember when I had the store, there was a band called 1380 from Kochi.
Okay.
They had released an album. Because, see, first Rock Machine was the first band that really started this.
Yeah.
Agnee and all came with albums later
Later.
after that. When I had cassette store, Indian Ocean released their first album.
Desert Rose.
From
Desert Rose.
Indian Ocean.
No, the album was Desert Rose.
No, it was something else. The first album, meaning it had only instrumental.
Okay.
So he playing and tabla, so Asimda and bass, and few lines. That was the first album which was recorded in Calcutta HMB.
Okay.
I don't know whether you heard it or not.
For me, the recollection is the first album was Desert Rose and then came Kandisa.
No. This is not popular music. This was almost
Oh, so
instrumental
this is
album. It was like just the starting of it. I mean, Amit was not part of it.
Oh,
Somebody else had played drums on it. And drums were not prominent at all. It was like tabla and acoustic guitar. That was the sound which come in. Bass, again, bass was there. But this was the two things which came out. In
oh,
that album.
nice.
So that all those were released when I had a store.
Crazy. Dada, so if you had to sort of name 5 bands from early 80s, early 90s, which probably the current generation isn't really aware of, internationally or from the Indian circuit, what would your pick be?
International level, I grew up on Beatles. You know, that's all that. Then the second phase was Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
And then Eric Clapton, Mark Knopfler. Not Mark Knopfler. I love more Dire Straits more than Mark Knopfler because now he's completely changed his course to country, which I don't like. I love as Dire Straits. So this 4 and Sting, of course. They are the 5 favorite music I listen to here. And now, as I said, Thaikudam Bridge hai. Wind Dance with Fire, Agnee ka jo first album hai, that I love. I still listen to it. Aviel, I listen to it a lot. Maru, I was talking about, the other artist I was talking about. The currently I am listening to is Maru. I hope I will be able to see her live someday because it's just 3 guitars. And
Oh,
voice.
nice.
So beautiful. She hardly sings in English, but it's so good music. Very, very nice. So these are the mostly what I'm listening to.
Okay.
But Thaikudam Bridge's Namaha, that album is on constant loop. It's so well produced and it's got so much of variety that and they've got really good artists. They've what I really like about that album is they have guest artists on each song. Like there's Rashid Khan, there's Neeladri, there's Gotri Govan, lot of people, but they have kept their sound. The guest artist comes and goes. It adds his color and then goes.
Okay.
But that Thaikudam Bridge as a band stays everywhere. So that's really good.
So this is like one of my favorite questions to ask. First, let me request you to pick any one song.
Time, Pink Floyd. Because that actually changed my life. When I heard that song, I had no clue what I was going to do with my life.
Yeah.
Really, in the real sense of it. Son is the same in a relative way, all that. But you're older. So I was getting older, meaning, and I had no clue what I was going to do. So at that time, that really, and one of my friends actually, till that time, I was not even bothered to listen to the lyrics. It was always melody for me.
Yeah.
And that is a song that really changed completely.
So now let's pick artist who you would like to engineer performing this song from the Indian circuit.
Artist playing it?
Playing time.
Okay.
And you're on the board. So who would you get on guitars?
Black Strap Blues?
Okay.
100%. I love, that is another band I forgot to. That's another band constantly on my playlist. Then what else?
Drums.
Drums, Jairo Kavi Osrijan.
Okay.
Bass. If I can get Carl Peters to play on it, I would love.
Keys.
Louis Banks.
And who would be singing?
Bharat.
Bharat.
Bharat Swami from Agnee. AGNI.
Oh, nice. Nice. Thank you so much, Dada, for taking out the time to speak with us. It was something that I really wanted to do, and I've been fortunate that you came to Delhi.
It's happened.
It's happened. But thank you so much for taking out the time.
Thanks. Have fun.